need to know. Show me which way to go before I throw my man out the door.
Okay, hold on a second, Keisha. Just let me ask Ronald exactly what's going on, because it takes two to tango, and I need to hear his side of the story.
So she's driving me insane. Got stress heavy on my brain. She keeps playing silly games, and I'm about to bring the pain. We seem to fuss and fight every day and every night. Please give some advice so we can see the light. See the light.
What up? Hit that like button. Let's go. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Last show of the week.
My behavior indicates that I'm afraid. But the actual perception of fear is elusive. How do I reach and deal with this deep-rooted but unconscious emotion? My behavior indicates that I'm afraid. Yet the actual perception of fear is elusive. How do I reach and deal with this deep-seated but unconscious emotion? Do you want to go into this now? I was going to deal with it on Saturday. It doesn't matter, we'll deal both days. If one has observed this problem of fear has existed from time immemorial, right? It has existed with man. And man has lived with it, both consciously or hidden deep down. Its roots very, very deep. And either we have escaped from it through logic, through analysis, through any form of entertainment that helps us to avoid coming directly into contact with it and holding it, or we have suppressed it. And we'll do this. Or we neglect it. Say what? We have lived with fear for a million years, so what does it matter now? And one knows the consequences of fear. The physical shrinkage,
That's my brother, Krishnamurti, my big uncle. I'm just going to claim Krishnamurti as my uncle. He's talking about fear. This is a tough topic. Yeah, this is a very tough topic. Why is it tough? Because most of us don't realize that we're scared. We're scared. Relationships scare most of us, right? We're afraid of being hurt. And tonight's topic is going to cover that, as Krishnamurti outlined it. We try to rationalize fear, intellectualize fear. We try to find definitions and categories and boxes to put it in. Let me just say, if you came from a home that lacked what not Krishnamurti, but what psychologists call attunement, emotional attunement, chances are you don't want to feel either. This is ugly. This is ugly. This is why behavior speaks louder than words. Just do what you're supposed to do. You said you were going to do this. We want to know why people are reduced to human doings versus being human beings. Because we're not conditioned to accept the ephemeral, irascible flaws of humanity. We're not. Right? We look at relationships as agreements. Agree to doing this for me and my wounds. Agree to this, and we're good. But if you've come from a home that lacks attunement, how are you going to get in touch with your feelings? And then more importantly, or secondarily, how are you going to get in touch with your partner's feelings? Because in order to be in a relationship that is organically give and take, you're going to have to be tapped into self and them. But if you come from a home that shut that process down in early childhood, how are you to give what you were told was bad or what you come to believe is bad, right? You're tune deaf. That's tonight's topic. Tune deaf, out of tune and out of touch. A deeper look at emotional attunement and its impact on intimate relationships. If you don't know what that is, emotional attunement, the nuanced ability to perceive and respond to another's emotional state, forms a critical foundation for intimate relationships. Partners who engage in emotional attunement cultivate emotional closeness, trust, and resilience. Now, be careful with the term trust. I don't use it. I don't like the word trust because you can't trust anything that's in flux. And every human being you meet is, in fact, in flux, changing, growing, learning, even when they don't want to. Because the universe is going to keep sending you lessons, whether you accept the lessons, i.e. blessings, or not. So I don't use trust in this context. I supplant that word with the word acceptance. We don't know how to accept an incomplete person. Are you ready for tonight? We don't know how to accept a person who is still a work in progress, an incomplete person. They must be complete in order for our wounds to be at peace. Do you see? Are you listening? So again, partners who engage in emotional attunement, or what is known as attunement, can cultivate emotional closeness, acceptance, and resilience. We live in a time right now, people don't even want to be resilient. We got all types of intellectual concepts that shoot down resiliency in relationship. Oh, emotional labor. It's too much emotional labor. It's too much on me and not enough on you. Right? Right? often through an unspoken awareness that fosters security. Yet, emotional attunement or its absence does not arise in a vacuum. Instead, childhood experiences early on of validation, neglect, or misunderstanding often shape these patterns, setting the stage for adult relationships, right? Examining this concept through various lenses, of course, we're going to go spirituality, psychology, metaphysics, and well beyond. It'll reveal how emotional attunement influences our most intimate bonds. In childhood, the foundations of emotional attunement or neglect take root. When caregivers respond consistently to a child's emotional cues, they instill a sense of acceptance. I'm not using the word safety because, yeah, well, okay, for children, yes. Instill a sense of safety that enables the child to trust and openly express feelings. However, caregivers who fail to mirror or attend to emotional needs inadvertently teach children to ignore or suppress these needs. Psychologists such as Glenn R. Schiraldi, and then you have a biologist by the name of Bruce Lipton. Their work has explored how these patterns impact development, with Bruce Lipton's research on epigenetics showing that environments of neglect shape not only the mind, but even the genetic expression of stress responses. These early this early training often manifests in adult relationships as distinct attachment styles. Securely attached individuals, those who experienced emotional attunement in childhood, generally find it easier to accept and connect. In contrast, those with insecure attachment styles shaped by inconsistent attunement, parents, right, may struggle with intimacy or experience difficulty accepting. According to attachment theory, as elaborated by Eric Fromm, attachment wounds can manifest as an endless push-pull dynamic where individuals simultaneously crave and avoid closeness. We scared out here. I done told y'all that. Most people are scared. Oh, I don't know who Zoe talking about. I'm talking about you. Listen, these are not lightweight punk. I wanted to say that word. These ain't lightweight topics. Do you understand? They're not. This is why people struggle to call in. They be, oh, Zoe done unpacked I ain't calling in. You guys want the little goofy conversations? I'll talk about eyelashes. I'll talk about weaves. Use Gorilla Glue. It'll last long. What you want me to talk about? I want to talk about what you scared of, right? You didn't get emotional attunement. You seek it in your adult relationships. I told you, your partner is the question to the answer you've always carried inside of you. What is that answer? It's what you modeled. It's what you modeled. And if you modeled a home environment that lacked attunement, emotional attunement, how you going to show up in a relationship? Well, it's unconscious. So you don't go into the damn relationship looking for how you will be triggered. You don't go in there with a journal going, how they going to trigger me now? Let me see what comes up out of my subconscious so I can deal with it. No, you go in with expectations that are written by the wounds that you modeled, that you inherited. You go in there and say, listen, this is how I am. How many times somebody told you that? See, you don't really understand me. You see, I don't do. So many people are so good at breaking things off. You know why? Because they've never finished the job of self-inquiry, self-introspection, self-acceptance. They've never done it. So if their partner is not willing to do it, on to the next one. I'm cute enough. I've got options. Social media done gave me options. There was a time, listen, most people didn't go 8 blocks past their neighborhood. Boy, social media done said, hey, I'm in Galveston, Texas. You want to come through? Absolutely. The options are endless now. Emotional attunement also serves as a profound mirror in relationship, reflecting each partner's emotional health. Oh my God. Krishnamurti emphasized the concept of relationship as a mirror, suggesting that partners can see their own, listen, the partners can see their own, not their partner's mess, but we can see ourselves, right? They can see their own stuff, right? I know you don't want to hear that. I can see their own unresolved wounds and projections through the lens of intimate connection. This reflective process, however, requires both partners to embrace emotional vulnerability. Well, if you didn't model that at the crib, you want somebody to put you on their proverbial spiritual back. Oh my God. It requires both of us, man, to be vulnerable. Often a daunting prospect for those with past attachment wounds. For example, Pema Chodron and Iyanla Van Zandt highlight the conflicting presence and vulnerability. It leads to a deeper understanding if one would just lean in, where each partner has the ability to support the other's emotional journey without attempting to fix them. But listen, your partner is not attempting to fix you all the time. When your partner brings up something they see, that's not them saying, do this, do that. Many of us can't even weather the inquiry. Hey, you know what I noticed? Oh, Lord, what you about to complain about now? When I come forward, the voice of reason. Oh, I got so many questions to ask. Do you want to talk about it? Call me, 1-800-920-1580. Tune deaf, out of tune and out of touch. A deeper look at emotional attunement and its impact on intimate relationships. Okay, what did I miss? Call in. The number to dial, 1-800-920-1580. Call in. Call in, 1-800-920-1580. Call in, 1-800-920-1580. Call in, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. The like button is free. We get an algorithm for that. Hit the like button, hit the like button. Let's get YouTube on it. Hit the like button. There are people in here. There's 10 people in here who haven't done it. Hit the like button. It's free. It's free. It's free. That was a good setup, Zoe. Thank you. Join the conversation, 1-800-920-1580. I want to talk to my friends. I want to talk to my family. I want to talk to the supporters of this show. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Listen, this is the last day of the week. If you guys can support, I'd appreciate it. There's a couple of ways to do it. Somebody just did it. Who sent that $1.99? I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Let me go back and see who showed some love. Nzinga warms my heart. Everybody hit the like button on Nzinga's cash or super chat. She sent a super chat for $1.99. She said, preach, Brother Zoe, one of them shows. You understand what it is? Yes, yes, yes. Don Coolio Swab, Big Zoe. You dig? What up? What up, what up, what up, what up? Thank you. We're moving closer on those likes. Let's get going. Let's get going. Let's get going. You can hit that super chat down at the bottom. Live in 1 minute, 60 seconds. The super chat is a $sign. Hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it. Or You can send it directly to my Cash App, $ZowhatNetter. If you appreciate the content, if the content is valuable, if it has some meaning, please do your brother a solid and support, okay? Do your brother a solid and support. What's the word for, there's neurodivergent, and then there's, what is the word for the normal folk? Not to say anything negative about neurodivergent, it's just that they're different. But there's a clinical term. Neuro, what? There's neurodivergent. That's like autism, that's like, but what's the word? Neurotypical. And bells start to ring. Hey, that's the girl for you. So what are you gonna do?
Guys, I'm Heidi Prieb. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time here. This month on this channel, we've been talking about intimacy. So how to develop and maintain healthy, intimate connections with anyone from friends to partners to parents to siblings, anyone we just want to experience more authentic connection with. And today, what I want to talk about is the difference between how securely attached people form and maintain intimate connections versus insecurely attached people. And there is a key ingredient to this process that is very important that we often haven't learned if we are insecurely attached. And what that ingredient is attunement. So attunement is essentially the process of being engaged in this kind of energetic dance with another person. So being really present with each other in a way that allows each person to learn the other's intricacies and kind of play with their energy in a very natural way. So this is about essentially being in an interpersonal flow with someone. When we are securely attached, when we have a parent who is deeply attuned to us from a young age, we learn what it feels like to have that type of attention and empathy focused on us. So we learn naturally and instinctively to approach making connections the same way as we grow up. However, when we are insecurely attached, often the way we learn to relate to other people did not involve a lot of attunement. So this is a skill that we need to learn as we go through our lives in order to get to a place where intimate connections are functioning as healthily as they possibly can. So what we're going to go over today is what happens in the case of two different people growing up, one of whom has an attuned caregiver and one who does not. So one who has either a misattuned caregiver or an intermittently attuned caregiver. So a parent who is able to be present and to read you quite accurately, but that presence was inconsistent, and which blind spots might develop for the person who didn't have that attunement, as well as which compensatory strategies you may have developed if you grew up insecurely attached, that you now think are the key to developing intimacy, but that actually are kind of serving to keep other people at arm's length unintentionally in your life. Then we're going to talk about what it takes to learn the skill of attunement, so how we can get better at practicing this in order to start building some really fundamental intimacy skills. So to start us off, I want to talk about what attunement looks like in infancy. When you have a parent who is really attuned to their child, what you have is a parent who is generally able to reflect the child's themselves reasonably well. So the child gets a little distressed, and the parent is able to communicate using body language, because children at that age do not have language skills yet, that they understand their distress, that they see it, and also that they're able to contain it in some way. So they're able to soothe the child in a way that makes the child feel as though there is someone competent who understands them and is available to help them. And so this is the process of a parent being very present with a child. I don't know if you've ever gone and been around a parent who has like a 6-month-old baby. And the baby can have these very specific noises or coos or little movements they do, and the parent is able to interpret them incredibly accurately. So they might know what their child sounds like when their distress is due to having a wet diaper versus being hungry versus being tired. And they're able to tune into these little nuances that give them information about that child's inner world. So this is often what we get in a secure caregiving dynamic. We get a parent who is sensitized to their child's specific needs. And the child learns in that process that if I show my emotions in a congruent way, so if I simply display what is happening for me, those emotions are going to get reflected back to me, and someone is going to be present with me, and that presence is going to lead to a deep form of connection. And then as that child grows up, without ever putting it into conscious words, what they're going to do
It's on fire tonight. It's the voice of reason with Zoe Williams exclusively.
Hey,
TBLA Talk 15.
y'all gonna call or no?
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know from BIN News. It's unclear how
Y'all gonna call or
President
no?
Trump's win will affect his New York City hush money case sentencing. Judge Juan Merchant has days to decide if Trump will face consequences for payments to Stormy Daniels. Trump argues presidential immunity should void the verdict since evidence from his time in office was not included. The Federal Reserve is lowering interest rates by 0.25 percentage point. This follows a 50 basis points reduction earlier.
Y'all gonna call? 1-800-920-1580. Get to your phone lines right now.
Authorities are investigating racist text messages sent to Black Americans nationwide. The messages signed a Trump supporter contain offensive language.
Cool. What up, y'all? How's everybody doing on this Thursday night? Is everybody good? I hope everybody is good. You already know what I'm trying to do. What am I trying to do? Does anybody know? Glad to be here. Hope you're feeling excellent too. Y'all know what I'm trying to do? What am I trying to do? Who's going to get on the phone call tonight? It's Saturday here. Where is here? Change people's perspective. And I can't do the changing. I could just trying to leave us. Yeah, I can't change the perspective, but I can just throw something out there to make you see something a little different, maybe. Leave us. We are looking so good on the likes. I want to thank each and every one of you who hit that like button. I want to thank each and every one of you. We are looking really good on the likes. We got 37 likes. It's 47 people in here. Please hit the like button. Please. We're doing good. 38 likes. Let's go. We pushing through. Only 5 people left to hit that like button. Come on. Come on. If you haven't found the like button, please hit it, hit it, hit it. To change is a personal choice of high-ass magnitude. Becoming a hub for artists and innovators and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. 41 likes, we moving. Double tap the screen for the thumbs up. Really? Let me see. I guess I can't do it. Third Eye, what up? Moderators, you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. Jumper. If you have the old view, you can. Come on, get in here, Nzinga. Come on in here and talk to me, Nzinga. Come on. Come on down, Nzinga. I need to hear from you. Let me see. I lost my voice. Girl, find it. Drink some tea. No, I'm just playing. So this is the behind the scenes. Okay? We're behind the scenes of a live radio show, terrestrial radio in Los Angeles, California, 1580, KBLA Talk 1580, owned by Tavis Smiley, media magnate Tavis Smiley. This is the Voice of Reason. I'm on Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 p.m., and we rolling right now. So during the break, I talk a little crazy, but I will say this. If you do call in, no cursing, because it's terrestrial radio, live terrestrial radio, on air. No cursing whatsoever. I know a lot of people see me on YouTube. They see me cussing on YouTube. They think, oh, okay, he's on YouTube again. And it's my fault for not making the distinction. When I'm in here, when I'm in this chair, when I'm doing this show, and you're on live, no cursing. No profanity whatsoever. Share it, like it, subscribe. Share, like, subscribe. Share, like, subscribe. And we're about to get, are they still crying about Kamala? Maybe. Man, my Zoe Was show Monday gonna be crazy. I can tell you that, though. I'm already putting it together. Custom brain.
communicate my feelings to my partner without them feeling attacked or shutting down or turning it around on me? I get this question every day, so here is my answer. You both have a job to do. You both have roles to play. The first thing that you need to understand is that it's not your responsibility to do their job for them. That's an unhealthy mindset, that you can do their work for them. You can carry it all on your shoulders. Never forget, healthy conflict requires two people participating. Stop defaulting to blaming yourself for all of the dysfunction in this relationship. Now, of course, there are things that we can do to keep conflicts respectful, and we should be doing them regardless of whether they reciprocate. We can make sure we don't start this discussion with criticism. That's attacking their character. We don't start with an accusatory tone. We don't belittle them. We don't blame them for our feelings. You make me so mad because you're a selfish, narcissistic jerk. No, we don't have to do that. That's not healthy. We start with respectful, honest vulnerability. We make sure we have regulated ourselves and we aren't coming into this thing triggered. That doesn't mean we're not still angry. It just means that we aren't in a flooded state where there's smoke coming out of our ears. Then we take accountability for our feelings and we state the facts. When you made fun of me at the party, I felt rejected and disrespected. In the end, that's all we can do. And we should be doing that. We should feel safe to open up and share our heart with them. And they should want us to be honest about our feelings. They should want to know what's going on with us. They should want to keep short accounts with us. That means not letting resentment or distance build up and repairing any unintentional hurts. But if your question is how can I prevent them from shutting down or feeling attacked or attacking us when we tell them about our hurts, we can't. That's their job, not ours. You can't control or force people to react a certain way with your words. It's their job to have enough maturity to realize that you aren't calling.
I don't know if these clips are helping, because if you're listening, every clip I play is outlining the tips, the skills, and the tools that are required. But let's just do basic math. You have 4 attachment styles. 1 is secure. The other 3 are dubbed insecure attachment styles. Now, there's varying numbers and varying sources, right, that say, 50% of people have a secure attachment style. Then there are other numbers, and I've looked them up. There are other numbers that are like, nah. The insecure attachment style, there are more people that have an insecure attachment style. Now, you've heard me outline this too. I've always said relationships are inherently spiritual, right? Why? Because they deal with the revelation of self-knowledge. I get to learn who I am in relationship. It is the mirror of relationship, a la Krishnamurti. It is the mirror. This is how I see myself, right? But many people are not focused on looking at themselves. They are focused on what their partner is bringing to the table, right? And when they say, well, what I'm bringing to the table, it's always tangible stuff. Money, career opportunities, advancement, resources. It's always tangible. It's never, this is what I'm bringing. I'm bringing a lack of emotional attunement. Nobody ever says that, right? So when the gentleman is explaining, basically putting the words in your mouth, how to communicate with folk, it makes me think that this is a country that isn't very spiritual. Might be highly religious, but not very spiritual. Spirituality is akin to consciousness. Consciousness is awareness. Now put that in the context of intimate relations, self-awareness. Do you see? So with the high level of lack of self-awareness, I'm going to say that in intimate relationships, this might be controversial, but I don't care. Most people are spiritually divergent. Doesn't mean you can't come into a spiritual typical space. Doesn't mean you can't gain these tools, learn these tools. But in relationship, most people are spiritually divergent. They just don't see it that way because of what they modeled. They are looking at relationship and the world through a lens of hurt, pain, and dysfunction. A lack of emotional attunement in relationships can lead to what psychologist Dr. Ramani refers to as emotional labor. Can I get deep? Emotional labor is a cop-out for the person that doesn't have the damn tools. Emotional labor is just a fancy euphemism for this is too much. Isn't that the new say? That's a lot. It's a lot. You hear people say that all? It's a lot. Oh my God, it's a lot. When I tell you spirit is infinite, when I tell you love is infinite, what I find is I get pushback because people have never been to that horizon. So based on where they are, man, that ain't real. Man, you can't love nobody because they're going to take, advantage. You're speaking through the broken lens of what you modeled in childhood. So yes, you see doing the work as emotional labor. I know people don't want to hear it put that way, but this is what Dr. Ramani calls it. She calls it emotional labor. The unequal distribution of emotional support, where one partner frequently manages both their own and their partner's emotional needs. Now go deeper. If the highest form of love is unconditional, which is infinite, if the highest level of healing is consciousness, self-realization, self-actualization, and we can all get there, I'm not saying that you should carry everybody's load. But what I'm saying is, when you begin the healing process, you'll find that your ability to carry more increases. You can't carry more if you're complaining about what you have to carry. And you're in a situation not by accident, but by divine right. Now, guess what? You have free will to be able to step away. No, I don't want to do that. I'm cool. I'm straight. I don't want to do that. But how do you get outside your spiritual comfort zone? How do you get outside of the parameters of what you believe until you push them to the limit? We can see this thought process in Prince or in Michael Jackson when they're striving for perfection to make this music. We could see it in Kobe Bryant when he says, you know what? I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. so I can have 3 practices throughout the day. And in the next 5 years, if I do that and everybody else is practicing once a day, there's no way they can catch up to me. What if you put that kind of effort into your relationship? Intrapersonally as well as interpersonally. Imagine how good at relationships you might become. Oh, that's a bit much. That's a lot. Isn't that the quote? That's a lot. I shouldn't have to do that. Well, maybe if I were married, then I would have something to fight for. Do you see how these ideas and concepts and you got to do it anyway if you want to relate at the highest level. When I come forward, I'm going to the phone lines. Let's get it. Oh, listen. It's not a prerequisite or a requirement for anyone to agree with me. Not at all. And then you have to realize, I've got to do this to rattle the cages of the listeners. See, You just proved my point. That's why I'm calling in. See? If I don't say it, your button don't get pushed. Radio lesson. This is what content is about. It's not necessarily shock value, but what it is if you throw out a comment that you know won't be warmly received, what you do know is this about radio. The people who call in is less than, Guy Black told me this, is less than 1% of the people who are actually listening to you. So the people who call in are the ones who get triggered, are the ones who get stung. And they go, wait a minute, I didn't agree with what you said. Come on in. I'll teach you how to do radio. You see? Say, I don't agree entirely, young, and I'm calling in. That's exactly why I said what I said. I'll teach y'all how to do radio if you really want to know. I learned that from Guy Black. Brandon Terry, what up? Hey man, people be taking notes.
Somehow we got away from what was so tight. From where we went wrong, we were all so right. What's left to do? Now I'll try again, but now this is the end. Tell me what's the use of holding on if we can't be friends?
Why isn't your partner listening to you? Or your boss, or your mother-in-law, or your kid, or your best friend? You got these great suggestions, you're just trying to help. Why won't they listen? I'm going to teach you right now. And the big secret is that you've been giving suggestions at the wrong time. So I'm going to teach you why that's true and what to do about it right now. So basically, I've said this a million times before, we are very much hardwired like we were literally the last 200,000 years, millions of years really if you think about it, but this is humans. And since the Earth has been around a long time, we have not been around a long time in comparison, maybe 200,000 years versus about 4 billion. So you can see we haven't evolved to a place that's more modern and having this kind of conversations we're having. So we're really reacting like we would have hundreds of thousands of years ago, millions of years ago really, but let's say even 200,000. So here's how I want you thinking, that when anything is stressing us, anything at all, it doesn't matter if it's big, if it's small.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you know what kind of nuclear bomb she just dropped. Hardwired. Millions of years ago. You get triggered, you respond like a primitive. I'm trying to give you a new mind, a new brain. And listen, we have the ability to transcend that automatic, reactive kind of, I'm triggered. This is how I'm gonna respond. I'm saying, yo, all these concepts, emotional labor. That's the old mind. I'm trying to get you past the dictates of the old conditioned mind. Man, bring her back to the top. Okay, can we bring her back to the top? Because listen to what she said.
Why isn't your partner listening to you? Or your boss, or your mother-in-law, or your kid, or your best friend? You got these great suggestions, you're just trying to help. Why won't they listen? I'm going to teach you right now. And the big secret is that you've been giving suggestions at the wrong time. So I'm going to teach you why that's true and what to do about it right now. So basically, I've said this a million times before, we are very much hardwired like we were literally the last 200,000 years, millions of years, really, if you think about it. But this is humans. And since the Earth has been around a long time, we have not been around a long time in comparison, maybe 200,000 years versus about 4 billion. So you can see we haven't evolved to a place that's more modern and having this kind of conversations we're having. So we're really reacting like we would have hundreds of thousands of years ago, millions of years ago, really, but let's say even 200,000. So here's how I want you thinking, that when anything is stressing us, anything at all, it doesn't matter if it's big, if it's small, it could be a death in the family, to leaving the cap off the toothpaste if your partner keeps doing that. Anything that's a stressor, our brains treat as an emergency. And so they immediately go to that place. And you have to remember that an emergency for our brain used to mean life or death. Literally. Anytime we were stressed, anytime we were worried, it meant, the crops weren't coming in and we were going to die. It meant there was a storm coming and we might die. It meant that there was a predator about to eat me and I might die. So everything that happens physiologically is related to that. I know, it sounds crazy, but it's true. So, sorry, itchy nose. So I want you to realize that if your boss says to you, hey, I want to see you in my office at 2 and it's 9 in the morning, you know that feeling you get like your stomach's dropping out? You know what I'm talking about. That is actually the blood rushing to your legs to run. Yeah. Very old response. That feeling you don't want to eat anything, because of course, if you're running from a tiger, you shouldn't have, be eating something. So all that goes away. Your pupils dilate so you can run in the dark. You might not even know that happens because you might not realize it. Your breathing becomes shallow and faster.
You're responding like you're in danger. You're having an argument with your spouse. I'm going to say it again. We respond to psychological issues as if we are in danger. So watch this. If you take Dr. David R. Hawkins' consciousness grid, the lower levels of the consciousness grid, you will find the villain, victim, accuser, abuser consciousness level. What is that? Shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, right? That's the lower level of consciousness. Guess what else exists there? What Dr. Ramani is talking about. Emotional labor often contributes to resentment, burnout, especially when one partner feels responsible for sustaining the relationship's emotional health. Patrick Carnes' research on trauma bonding shows how emotional neglect or imbalanced attunement creates dependency cycles where both partners cling to a dynamic that prevents true intimacy. Listen, these are low levels of consciousness. And even at those low levels of consciousness, if we feel like, oh, the relationship is going to break up, it's really painful. We don't even want to let go of the dysfunction. This is all a product of the lack of relational attunement. We get it in childhood. We live with it. We cope with it. We create intellectualized frameworks for it to say, oh, this is the way it is, and this is how you have to eggshell around me. No, at some point, you have to find the inner courage, which is at 200 on this consciousness grid, courage, to look at all of those coping mechanisms around those unhealed wounds and say to yourself, no more. No more. I am no longer going to be this kind of person that requires someone to supplement this wound. I'm going to love this wound. I'm going to empathize with this wound to the point where it has no more power over me. Is that self-attunement? So that one could be emotionally attuned to their partner? There can be no emotional attunement until there is self-attunement. This is me telling you guys a couple of weeks ago when I said what? Self-neutrality leads to relational mutuality. When I come forward, I promise I'm bringing these people on the line. Let's go. BF, that don't make no damn sense in context with what I said. You're 100% right, Attila. People do want connection, even if it's toxic. And anything that, I'm going to say something. Anything that keeps you in your comfort zone is toxic. Somebody go meme it. Anything that keeps you in your comfort zone is toxic. Why is Ida repeating what was already said? We got you, Ida. Toxic or not, people want to connect. Yes. But the purpose is not to connect. The purpose is to reflect. What are you reflecting for? Let's see if anybody been listening. What are you reflecting for? We've been doing this show for 2.5 years. What are we reflecting for? Hustle habit. Thank you. Truth Seeker, we about to block you. You're talking about something we're not talking about. Nazarene X for understanding. Ida for healing. So stop bigging up. Oh, we got to connect. We've been doing that for 200,000 years. You heard the video, right? The lady said we got old ass responses. Yes, we want to connect. But that's not the purpose. We've made that the purpose because we're still animals on some level. Animals dealing with the spiritual machine known as relationships. You want to get to your Godhead, you got to get past fear.
Love still exists. What are your bedroom turnoffs? Fantasies and fetishes. Financial infidelity. I'm dating a fat.
Get in here, hustle.
Worth the wait. Trust me, this gonna be crazy.
How about the heavy? The child wasn't here, and you still.
We're more than animals, Ida.
Very heated topic.
I know you know that.
Mama's baby.
You gotta know that, right?
So many questions I want to ask you.
I was like the kids. This gonna be a roll up there. He told me he had a vasectomy. I'm pregnant.
Trail has been
Right.
committed. Hit you with the bad vibes routine. How does he maintain his hump
Right.
He likes it when it pinches my nip.
Why can't you open up, brother? I'm a karate man. Karate man on the inside. They don't show their weaknesses. Yeah.
How do you make my home so well?
So Williams.
Reason and accountability.
The voice of reason.
Feelings are never right or wrong. They just are. And I think I've discussed this before and talked to you about this. But what happens when you're in a relationship where someone invalidates your feelings? You know, it's important that when we're with someone who respects us and that we love, they listen to us and they try to hear us out when we're talking about our feelings. When somebody invalidates them, they try to talk you out of them, they try to ignore them, or they try to somehow shame you. That makes you feel bad for feeling the way you do. I'm going to go through a list of what it looks like when someone doesn't validate your feelings. I'm going to start with couples because I think that's so important. Your significant other is a one person who you should be able to count on, who will validate or at least listen to how you feel. Doesn't always mean they're going to agree, but they'll at least listen to you. The first one is you never get to make any decisions. If you're in a relationship that all the decisions are made for you, that's a sign that your partner is invalidating what you feel or what you talk about feeling with them. Secondly, they straight up reject your emotions. When you get emotional or you have feelings that are intense, they basically will withdraw or they'll just say, that's stupid. They tell you what they think you really feel. And I think that's the most manipulative in many ways, because sometimes your significant other has their feelings front and center, and they want you to believe their feelings. And so if they try to tell you what you're feeling, that's a very important sign, and you want to be aware of it in the future. Or they tell you how you should feel. I think those two kind of go together, but both of them are significant and to be aware of. They ignore you. When you talk about your feelings or anything, they simply tune out. They don't listen. And it's very lonely, and it's a very lonely feeling, and it makes you feel worthless when your partner does that. They make you feel like your feelings are a fault, or a weakness, or something that's wrong with you. And it's quite the opposite. Our feelings are what make us human. They're really what makes us strong. Or they're dismissive. They'll try and take up for the other person and say, I think you misread that. I don't think that's what it was at all. That's someone who is not valuing your feelings. Someone who is basically making you feel bad about the way you feel. If you're with someone...
I need balance in her statement. That's potentially someone. It's not always that way. There has to be balance. There has to be further discussion. Right? Because if you also factor in, yes, feelings are important, but oftentimes feelings don't equate to facts. And if clarity needs to be pursued, don't look at the pursuit of clarity and the subsequent questions as an attack. Right? And of course, those questions have to be presented respectfully. But many people just respect my feelings. They'll take what she said and take it somewhere else. And it'll just be, these are my feelings. Yes, your feelings have a space here. It's a safe space. However, if I'm confused, I should be able to question without feeling like I'm attacking you because I'm confused and I need clarity. Do you understand? It goes both ways. This is very good. This is very good. We got callers on the line. I want to get them in here right now. Attila, Houston, Texas. What are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
I was not expecting to be first.
All right. I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna get out your way. I'm gonna get out your way. You got
I have a whole lot to say.
You got the floor. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to reflect on Jack's comment, because he made a really good comment in the chat, and he was saying to change is a silent way of admitting guilt. Some feel it's not worth to feel that way.
Whoa.
And
To change?
Is a silent way of admitting guilt. Some feel it's not worth to feel that way. And I could see why he would say that, because if you have been raised in a household where basically being vulnerable and saying, yeah, I did this wrong, got thrown back in your face, it makes sense why you would say that, right? Or feel that way. Like, I get that. Or even in a relationship. But I think if you've been conditioned to, I don't know who that was in the videos that said that, but if you've been conditioned to feel that your feelings or your emotions are bad, then yeah, you're going to reflect in that way. But I would also say that it's not that they feel it's not worth to feel that way or to feel guilt. It's not about whether it's worth it. I think it's about whether or not it's safe. And because it hasn't been safe, you don't want to do it, which is why you would rather deflect versus accepting accountability.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
So there's that, and then the stuff I didn't agree with. And again, I think most of what you said, I get it. The only thing was about doing others' work, and I think I'm trying to remember what you said about how when you grow in consciousness, you're able to take on more. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Take on more. Wait, hold on. Take on more doesn't mean do others' work.
Okay, so can you break that down for me then?
Yeah, take on more does not mean do others' work. The concept was about emotional labor. And what happens is people get exhausted relatively quickly when you're dealing with the difficulties of another. And I don't see that as taking on their work. It's almost like, oh my God, we're still going through this. We're still dealing with this. You're still asking about this. So that gets translated as emotional labor. Having to go through, having to consider, having to, listen and be empathetic. Because, a lot of people, they get, what is the term for empathy when they get tired of being empathetic? They burn out. It's like a burnout. And I'm saying the reason why the reason why you lack a capacity to feel for another is because that's a muscle, a spiritual muscle that hasn't been worked out. See, it's easy to feel good when times are good. But when times are difficult, that's when you see the physical fitness of the spiritual muscle. Many people are not working out their muscles. Soon as they...
I was going to say, that's just a reflection of themselves.
Yeah, so
they don't give themselves that grace. I can't give you what I don't give myself.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to be able to extend grace to someone, especially if I don't have any empathy for them.
Right.
But also if I feel slighted by them in some type of way, and that is my focus, in not actually resolving the issue.
Come on.
Yeah, that sounds more like a matter of perception. And I'm saying this as somebody who does it, okay? I have done it. I have observed myself in situations where I closed my heart to that person simply because I was offended or hurt or, like I said, I felt slighted. Now, granted, I'm not saying let people dog you out, but I do think that if someone is like making a genuine effort to actually try with you, that you should open up and do it. Or you can. I'll say this: you have a right to do whatever you want to do. I'm trying to cover the whole shit thing. You have a right to do what you want to do, but I think that we forfeit our own lesson by trying to close a chapter on someone because it's uncomfortable. So that's it.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. Heat Rocks from Houston, Texas. Attila, guess what you just did?
How about H-Town in the building?
H-Town is in the building. If you want to bring your city in the building, all you got to do is call me at 1-800-920-1580. Again, I'm not saying you should do someone else's work. What I'm saying is our patience with the struggles of others, with the humanity of others, is at an all-time low within intimate relationships, right? And as Attila so eloquently pointed out, if your human partner hurt you, your resources are going to be even lower. I know people don't want to hear it that way. This is why I refer to the consciousness grid that was put together by Dr. David R. Hawkins. Now, I told you There's a book called Power versus Force. The great Quincy Jones, rest in peace. He was the first one to tell me about this book. Once I bought the book, I went down the rabbit hole. He got about 30 different titles. I got them all, read them all. One book that stands out in all of, I mean, they're all great, I promise you. But I encourage you to go get this book. Get your pens and pencils out right now. This is a slapper of a book if you want a higher conscious perspective of how to intimately relate with self and with others. Here's the book, Transcending the Levels of Consciousness, The Stairway to Enlightenment by Dr. David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD. The book is available at www.veritaspub.com. Of course, veritas is the Greek and Latin term for truth. Veritaspub.com. Go there right now. Now, this is how he breaks it down. The third dimension, the lower levels of consciousness. You had parents who were totally unaware of this, and this is why there was inconsistent attunement in your household. This is why you grew up not feeling the feels completely. This is why you grew up addicted to feel good more than feel bad. As a spiritual being, you're supposed to be able to feel good in bad situations, but you were never taught that. You were taught to run away from bad and run towards good. Now, third dimension, I broke down that. The lower levels of consciousness, right? It starts with shame. Somebody said, oh, Zoe, we should bring shame back. Shame is the lowest level of consciousness according to this grid. Now, let me just break the grid down real quick before I even go even into the levels. The conceptual framework of this consciousness grid was first developed by Dr. David R. Hawkins, MD, PhD. After many decades of research, it looks at various psychological and mental states as they clearly correspond to the different levels of consciousness from 20, the numerical value of shame, at the bottom, 20, to the very top, which is 1,000, which is the 12th dimension, absolute self, full consciousness. Now, this isn't a new concept. You have Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. At the bottom are the very basic needs, and at the top is self-realization, right? This isn't all that new. But he based his research off of kinesiology. When you're in the presence of truth, the body gets stronger. When you're in the presence of falsehood, the body gets weaker. This approach, according to Dr. David R. Hawkins, is very new, yet is still in line with the wisdom of the ancient traditions, where higher levels of consciousness correspond to greater psychological integration and harmony within life. This conceptual approach, right, delineates how one moves from the lower self or small I, lower states of consciousness, to the higher self or the absolute I. Through this journey, various conditioning, I know y'all not ready for this. Are y'all ready for this? And he uses the term vasanas. This is the Sanskrit word. It's the term for conditioning. And samsakras, these are Hindu terms for conditioning, along with different impurities start to dissolve as you evolve. Whatever maladaptive attachment style, whatever insecure feelings you have about yourself, low self-esteem, low self-worth, all of this stuff starts to dissolve as you evolve. But relationship is the key to that evolution. You got to get in one in order to see where you are on this chart. You got shame in your spirit, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, running rampant, the map of consciousness. This is why he created it. Through this journey, through this journey, various conditionings, vasanas and samsakras, along with different impurities, start to dissolve. This process of dismantling and purification allows for a greater expression of one's true nature at the level of the person. However, this model itself is an expression of the relative and therefore should not be taken as an expression of the absolute truth. So he's saying this is a model. The model is not a map. Or the model or the map is not the territory, as Alfred Korzybski would say. But at the bottom of this consciousness grid, villain, victim, abuser, abused, consciousness. That's the lower level of consciousness. When you get past 200, you get to self-empowerment. When you get to 250, you get to neutrality. This is why I said you can't give attunement until you become attunement. You can't become attunement until you recognize that you were raised in an environment that lacked attunement. So many people are self-unaware. They don't see, wow, this is how I showed up. I showed up at my lowest level. No wonder this didn't work. Do you understand? So, above neutrality, you get to willingness. Above willingness, acceptance. Above acceptance, inner light. Above inner light, inner wisdom. Above inner wisdom, inner love. Above inner love, oneness, self-realization. Now we're at a higher level. So many people want to relate at the absolute lowest level, the lower ego self, from 20 to 199 on his grid. He labeled that as hell. So many people are relating in hell. But what does the good book say about hell? Hell is a hospital for the soul. That's where your soul is supposed to get better, by going through the fire, as Shaka Khan explained. I know y'all not ready for this. But out of hell, you get into purgatory, limbo, that Dante's Inferno spoke of. And that's 200 to 299. But in between that, you start rising. The rational, linear, emotional self. You start to go higher and higher. Then you get to a higher self. Do you understand? This is what Abraham Maslow talked about with his hierarchy of needs. So many of us are so desperate and so broken. We are looking for the external answer to the external answer to who we are as a being, not knowing that answer is inherently within us. When I come forward, I'm gonna go back to the phone lines to see what y'all thinking about. Because guess what? If you can't feel you, you won't feel them. Are y'all understanding what I'm laying out right now? Do you understand do you understand the framework? What up, Monk? But do you guys understand what's being laid out? It's giving Phoenix. What do you mean? The Phoenix rising? So do you see? We will create these frameworks from a psychological perspective, right? Emotional labor, not understanding. As you raise in consciousness, none of that stuff matters. You know why? It doesn't affect you. It affects you because the consciousness is low. Please understand that. The consciousness is low. This is why there's resentment. This is why there's resistance. What we resist persists. Does that make sense? This is why you're fatigued. Empathetic fatigue. Oh shit, I don't have it to give. I don't have the capacity. That's because you're broken. Get to the level of your God. How about that? Be like your God. I give you the power to do even greater things than I, if you would but believe on me. You ain't met a Christian that done anything greater than Jesus. Have you? Why? Because the disciples were humans. And guess what? They looked at them as separate from him. Peter, get your ass in the boat. O ye of little faith. If you could recognize that you can do what I can do and stop looking at me as if I'm the only one that can do it, you could have walked your ass on the water and got into the boat yourself. But you did something that normal humans don't do, which is, guess what? Walk on water a little bit. Of course, he was all of that. No, but we want to live in, oh, this is too much. I don't have the capacity. You don't have the tenacity to heal yourself. That's what it is. It's not that you ain't got the damn capacity. You don't have the tenacity to heal yourself. Am I on one? I'm sorry.
So let's return to the infant. There's the baby in the crib. It's mostly interocepting. As caregivers bring it what it needs, you hope, milk, diaper changes, etc., a warm blanket if it's cold, pull off the blanket when the baby's fussing and it's too warm, because babies get too warm also, it starts to exterocept. Excuse me, I misspoke. I want to be very clear. It starts to exterocept. The baby starts to look into the outside world and start making predictions. It starts wondering how much it needs to cry, or predicting, well, if I cry like a little bit, then mom comes over and I get my milk. Or if I cry a lot, mom doesn't come over and give me milk, so I need to really scream at the top of my head. Okay, so babies are starting to evaluate and do all this, but they're not doing it consciously. They're doing this strategically in order to relieve anxiety. And I won't propose that that's what we do into adulthood, but a lot of what we do in adulthood is when we feel something, we start exterocepting. Some people are much better at just sitting as a container and just interocepting and paying attention to what they're feeling internally. But most people do a little bit of a balance of both. We don't feel good, so we look for an item of food that.
Okay, exterocept. It's a fancy word for manipulation. The baby learns how to manipulate the parent to come over there and soothe. It's fine. As adults, it's manipulation. It's dry begging. It's all the little tricks we use to pull our partner in. Let's just be honest. Again, emotional labor contributes to resentment and burnout, especially when one partner feels responsible for sustaining the relationship's emotional health. But let me say this. Please understand, where there is emotional burnout, right, there is a lack of spiritual development. This is where psychology falls short. There's a lack of spiritual development. Where there is more spiritual development. Because remember, most people are just gaping wounds begging to be fed. That's most people. Feed my wound, please. Spiritual traditions also provide valuable insights into emotional attunement. Buddhist mindfulness practice, as discussed by, Thich Nhat Hanh, encourage individuals to cultivate deep listening and presence, allowing them to better perceive and respond to their partner's needs. Taoist principles of Wu Wei, effortless action, advocate for a relaxed, accepting approach to relationships where each partner embraces the present without trying to control the other. Listen, if you haven't healed, these concepts are high. They're too high. What? I just accept it and I get cool and I get peaceful. I get in the mindfulness state. Mindfulness is a funny word. It means empty mind. Do you see? No, not with all that anxiety, not with all that fear. Oh my goodness. We getting it in. When we come forward, I promise you. I'm going back to the phone lines. Let's get it. Chelsea, what up? I don't feel safe to cry. So, Attila, have you read it? Power versus Force? That one question. Have you read Power versus Force by Dr. David R. Hawkins? Have you read it? I see you, bro. I'm coming to you. So you remember the section where he talks about when you're dealing with somebody that suffers from schizophrenia or someone who is catatonic, we know that they're getting better when they start to cry. He said to cry is an expression of humanity. So listen to your statement when you said, I don't feel comfortable. Right? Do you see? That's part of your process. You got to get to a point where you're unapologetic about your humanity. You're not crying. So many people, this is that term homeboy used about the baby. Many people are crying so that here it is. Oh, I see what's happening. They're crying for the empathetic response. And I'm saying, no, cry for you. Don't cry for the response. Be safe enough within you to be you in any moment. It's not about them. We made it about them. Their response, how they deal with us. See? Black Superman, do you feel weak crying? No. If I have to, it comes out. It's rare, but if I have to, it comes out. But do you see? He said that's human. That's how we know they're coming out of, they're not catatonic anymore. This is how we know they're coming back to their humanity when they cry. Now look at all the men, the majority of men who are not emotionally attuned. Look at the majority of men who build up all of these emotions to prevent themselves from crying. Nope. So if a parent is suppressing a kid's emotion and they can come out as fearful avoidant or dismissive avoidant, what is a man doing? See, crying was weaponized in my home. So that's what I'm talking about. Fight that. You know what it is now, fight it. Fight it with love, objectivity, empathy. This is why you hear me say I don't use the term self-care. Care is a word that means hurt, means pain. Self-empathize. Does that make sense? Jason Radford, I have not cried in a long time. I know, neither have I. Is this making sense? Yep. Up 1 point. Yep. Is this making sense? Are you understanding what's being said here? Good. Good. Flush that shit out. Yes. Thanks, man. Open my eyes a little. In a short time listening, I can relate a little. There we go. This shit lit. This is a fire show. What do y'all think?
What kind of world are we creating? It's worth asking yourself this question. And it's not a question. It's more the question is, what kind of world am I creating? What am I adding to? Am I adding to this deep, unconditional love for self and other that is so healing? Or am I adding to polarization and aggression and even violence? It's really worth asking ourselves this. And then the approach here is so tender and forgiving that if I find myself about to go off on somebody, or right in the middle of it, I say, ooh, I am screaming here. Or I just lost it completely and I'm already slammed the door and I'm standing out in the hall. I mean, wherever you are in the chain reaction of reactivity, you know, you can pause and just ask yourself, you know, look what I'm doing. And then instead of denigrating yourself, instead of me criticizing myself, instead of me shaming myself, instead of me wallowing in guilt for the next 17 years, at least, there's this very forgiving quality which is epitomized by the Shambhala meditation, which is just feel the rage, feel the shame, feel the guilt, feel the remorse, feel the resentment, feel the heat.
Pema Chodron. Oh, I love her work, man. Part of gaining emotional attunement is feeling the uncomfortable feelings without judgment. We've been suppressing, we've been avoiding, evading, and distracting ourselves so that we don't feel. Feeling and expression of those feelings in a constructive way. If you weren't taught that, right? Part of your expectations for your significant other is for them to supplement your coping mechanism. You want a better relationship with your partner, you must cultivate a better relationship with yourself. You must accumulate the tools that are necessary. What are the tools, though? Well, it's tough, but to be able to observe yourself without observation is a key tool. To be able to observe your wounds without judgment is key, right? Many of us are tune deaf, right? Attunement, because we are self-blind and deaf. We must come into the true knowledge of who we are, right? What's normal to us in intimate relationships is emotional disconnection. That's our safety, right? What's normal to us in these non-attuned relationships, right? The inability to communicate our feelings. That's normal. Avoidance of vulnerability. That's normal. The insecure attachment styles are running the relationship asylum. That's normal. It's normal to do for other folk before we do for ourselves. It's normal to soothe other people before we soothe ourselves. Neglect of emotional needs. It's normal to have reactive emotional patterns, emotional dysregulation, right? We weren't taught. We didn't model openness, transparency, and honesty when it comes to vulnerability, right? We didn't model trusting and accepting the human in front of us that raised us. We didn't model emotional reciprocity. We didn't model encouraging empathy, facilitating individual growth. We didn't model that. We've got callers on the line. I want to get them in here. Hustle. Miami, Florida. What are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Well, I got some thoughts on this topic, brother. How you feeling?
I know you do, man. Come on in here. I'm good, man. What are your thoughts?
So, I spent a few years living as a monk, as some would say, and just for the purpose of spiritual growth and getting closer with God. And I got to a place where I was in step experiencing that oneness that you spoke of earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And you begin to realize the levels of abundance that we have.
I got the phone call.
And within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask a question about work for others. And I understand why she would ask something like that. But when you think with the God mind, the level of patience and
Come on, Hustle.
peace that is available to us,
Come on, Hustle.
it knows no limits, you see?
See, Hustle, you're right there. It's not I'm doing your work. It's I've increased my patience, my tolerance, and my acceptance. Not I'm accepting your bad behavior. Acceptance in the sense of that is you and your problem. And that's okay. I don't have to remain here, right? Do you get what I'm saying? Most of us are reactive when we get to the end of our capacity to deal with something. And you've heard me say this for years. Tolerance is a silent time bomb for most people. I can only tolerate this for so long. That's most people. But when you raise in consciousness, you find that your reservoir of tolerance begins to broaden, begins to deepen. And it's not so much about you being irritated because they don't get it, because they're still hurt, because they're still reactive. You're not even bothered by that anymore.
Right, it's kind of like a marathon runner, right?
Mm-hmm.
A mile is a light jog to them.
Come on, man. Come on, brother. Come on.
And, it's almost paradoxical because when you reach a certain place of oneness or just seeing things in a different way, it feels lonely, yet spiritually you're fulfilled because you're always present with God,
Mm-hmm.
or in other terms, present with self.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, all these other things that I like to say, frustration, anxiety, that's your humanity talking to you. That's your check engine light.
Ooh, keep going. Keep going. You got an exam due, right? You got a test due in the morning. Come on. Come on.
That's it. The check engine light don't mean that you're about to run off the road. It means just look deeper. It means that it's trying to tell you something.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But what?
Take a closer look.
Because this is big right here. It's trying to tell you something. But the average consciousness level of today's relationships, you know what it's trying to tell them? Leave. Leave. Run. Get out of there. And we're talking about basic conflicts that have been sustained in relationships. Leave. Get out of there. That is an indication that you're at the end of your resources, right? But watch this. The end of your known resources. There are more. You just have to go in to discover. Go ahead, brother.
Because you know why a lot of people don't want to look at the check engine light?
Why?
Because once you pop that hood, once you run them diagnostics, you realize the level of work you got to do. Ain't nobody trying to pay for that.
Stay with me, Hustle. When we come forward, we going back to Miami, Florida. We on fire tonight. Woo. Oh, this is my commercial.
Like you're stuck in a hole with IRS tax debt, and this is the easiest way to get a resolution quickly. To qualify for a no-pay or low-pay resolution, just call 687-246-9655 to get free from the IRS once and for all. To keep your bank accounts income and assets secure, tax closure is a sinecure.
Yo, what up?
Play this last clip. You got 3 callers.
No.
No?
Who's the last clip, though?
Something about gaming or something like that?
Nah, we got to get to the callers.
I'm walking through life with no emotions. That's the title of the thing, but I don't know who.
It's probably fire, too, because Attila picked it.
I mean,
but I got to get to the callers.
Play good 20 seconds of it, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, that ain't good enough. We'll just save it for the next one.
For sure.
This damn show went fast as hell. Is it me? We got to remember that video. We got to use it for the next show. Perfect. Hey, I know I sound like a broken clock. Great call, Hustle, and you coming back through in a second. And then we're going to get to Nazarene and Theo. But tell me, is this message resonating? Do you understand what I'm saying? As I'm dancing on the clinical side and I'm dancing on the spiritual side, are you understanding what's being presented here? Like, again, remember linguist Alfred Korzybski. He says, the definition creates the condition. So what happens is when we empower definitions like emotional labor and the unbalanced nature that happens in some relationships, you can't look at balance in the societal sense. You have to look at it in the spiritual sense. Right? What do you mean in the spiritual sense? In the spiritual sense, you look at, like in the societal sense, you're looking for equity. I carry this amount, you carry that amount. In the spiritual sense, spirit might be calling you to carry more, to show you that, come on, man. Show you that you can. Woo, ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of reason is live on KBLA Talk 1580. The show has been absolute fire. The phone lines are lit. And I got to get to them right now because we're up against the clock. Callers, I want to get your thoughts, but we got to move quickly. We got to move swiftly. Man, this show was on fire. Hustle, what are your final thoughts on tonight's topic?
I'll just say this real quick as I exit. If you want to avoid the prices of the dealership, or as I call it, the stealership, learn to work on the car yourself.
Wow. Become your own mechanic. Self-maintenance. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hustle, Miami, Florida. You already know what you did. Dade County. Y'all know what it is. The voice of reason is always on fire. Let's get these callers in here. Nazarene X, Atlanta, Georgia. What are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Park one real quick, man. Just vibing off that schizo side.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, living by the other people's definition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have our various wiring with definitely real world consequences for the way that we demonstrate or express such.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to find that schizophrenia still, quote unquote, requires that your reality be defined by someone else. And that's the problem. So once you open up to your voice again, knowing that you are the definition of your truth, that'll help you open up a gateway for breathing and letting out what's been bottled up on all levels. And I believe that in you doing so, you open up the channel for another to meet you there and not chastise you, cast you aside, not make you feel less than. We'll move together. And through that, self-acceptance remains the ultimate triumph.
Man.
So I bet everybody gets some type of rhythm in that sense.
Man, I appreciate the insight. Thank you for calling in, and your contribution is valuable as always. My nephew, Atlanta, Georgia, we appreciate it. Theo, Charleston, South Carolina. What's the deal? What are your thoughts on tonight's topic?
Well, you're going to have to do a part 2 to this show because this one is real heavy. I have a lot of questions, but I can't get to them right now because I know it's the end of the show. So,
well, just start with one. How about that?
Could this be the conscious level of what you're saying is, well, I look at it from the aspect of maybe this is why a lot of men stay in relationships that they know themselves should even be out of, but they just stay. They linger longer than they should. And then, like, most people look at it as if, oh, that's a good person, that's a good man right there. Not knowing that he's exhausted and he's tired. Like, drained, but don't know how to leave. What you're, from what I understand, what you're saying is, that's the consciousness level of what you're supposed to be saying.
No, what I'm saying is to define what you just said, what I'm saying is the average person does get drained. And the average person, once they get drained, they leave. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is, as you evolve towards what Abraham Maslow spoke on, which is self-realization, self-actualization, Paramahansa Yogananda called it self-realization. Abraham Maslow called it self-actualization, the top of the pyramid of the hierarchy of needs. Once you self-actualize, you start to realize at lower levels of consciousness, you have less capacity. So when you're talking to people who says, I'm emotionally drained, that's an indicator of I lack the tools. I haven't cultivated this spiritual muscle, right? If you look at a lot of relationships, and I'm not saying that there aren't relationships out there that aren't psychologically abusive, that aren't emotionally abusive. I'm talking about relationships that ended because they couldn't figure it out, or they couldn't get past a particular human infraction, whatever it might be, right? Typically, those relationships end not because these two people didn't love each other, not because these two people didn't want to be with each other, it's because they couldn't get past something. And when you can't get past something, typically it's going to go back to an attachment wound. It's going to go back to the lack of emotional attunement. It's going to go back to the lack of what's in that damn toolbox. If you had the tools, you'd get through it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I get that part. When you get a chance, can you check to see? I get some blocked from the chat. I don't know why.
Well, I don't control the chat, but I will check, brother.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, let me just say this, man. Nothing but love. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate you calling in. You all the way over there in that state that gave the man the victory. I'm just playing. I'm blaming it all on you, Theo. Hey. Hey, listen, again, I love these types of conversations. I love to start them. But what makes me feel better is when you finish them. I'm not here to be right. I'm here to provoke thought. I want us to think about our relationships in a different way, right? Relationships are about self-healing. But you can't get to self-healing until you get to self-revealing. And many of us don't want to be revealed. We want to remain concealed. We don't want to be seen, although we beg to be seen. Come on, Zosa, where my organs? We don't want to be seen, although we beg to be seen. Huh? Hey, you see, the problem is relationships are going to expose you whether you want to be exposed or not. And what is exposed is to be claimed. Because where did it come from? It came from your spiritual lost and found. You lost it on purpose. Your relationship found it for you. Now, you embrace what was refound, what has resurfaced. You embrace it with empathy, and it'll heal. I started the conversation. I'll see y'all next week. Ain't nothing but love. I appreciate everybody. Deuces. Bada bing. It's great. It's great. Great show tonight. Hey, bro.
Yes, sir.
Bad checks. You already know what it is. Man, you better know it. I'm finna post up and chillax. Great show tonight, y'all. Great show. Appreciate everybody. This was a good one, man. I see y'all. We get up out of here. Love y'all. Deuces.